right, everybody. Hey, this is SugarTrades, and the markets are waking up. And so, welcome to my first video. I really want to start building a community on here. I'm trying to help as many people learn trading. I really feel like crypto trading can really offer some great opportunities to people to find freedom from the typical 9 to 5 job. I am working on a trading platform called SugarTrades.io. You can go there and sign up to be notified of when that's going to be launching, but that has been a pretty in-depth job. There is a lot of content to organize, a lot of content to record and create, but I wanted to get out just some free content as we prepare for that, and just wanted to talk about the markets. So bear with me. This is my first video. I'm sure I will get better over time with just how to format the content on a daily basis. The goal is to release a video daily, just giving you my thoughts on the market. And what I would like to do is just start with a basic statement about trading. And that is trading is a lot like forecasting the weather. Weather forecasters are only able to give you statistical probabilities, and that's what you really have to look at trading like. Is trading is really measuring the most likely statistical probability in any given moment at any given time. I will say a lot on crypto Twitter and other places that there's a difference between possibilities and probabilities. And what I mean by that is, sure, could the entire market go to zero tomorrow? That's possible. Could Bitcoin turn around right now from $116,000 and go straight to zero tomorrow? Well, sure, anything is possible. But what is most probable based on 15 or 16 years of history, based on what we've seen Bitcoin do over those 15 years in the market conditions that we are currently in? And so what I'm going to always try to do is share with you the statistical probabilities that I see in any given market. Primarily, we'll be looking at cryptocurrencies, and out of the cryptocurrencies, we'll be typically looking at the top 10 cryptocurrencies. But if there's others, I'm sure we'll look at those. The reason I like trading and keeping my focus on the big cryptocurrencies is it's very similar to stocks for that example. What are the big 5 stocks? Apple, Facebook, Tesla, Amazon, and is it Netflix? Yeah. So it's like, and of course Google. So looking at those big tech stocks, there's a lot of times this desire to want to chase, things that are brand new because they're really cheap. They could go up a lot, but they could also go to zero. The reason I like to stay focused on the larger market cap cryptocurrencies is because, number one, they have a history. And that history helps you develop what? It helps you develop probability judgments based on the history of the asset. Now, of course, we know that past performance is not indicative of future performance or future gain. However, past performance in an asset, say for example, such as XRP, does give to us insights into how that asset moves, especially when you're comparing that asset to the main asset in crypto, and that is, of course, Bitcoin. And so, I think in this first video, I just wanted to share that because I think one of the biggest issues in trading, if you're going to become successful in it, and I'm not sitting here today to tell you that I am perfectly successful in trading. I've made every mistake in the book, which I'm sure I'll share with you over the course of several videos. And then, of course, on the platform that I'll be launching here later this year called SugarTrades.io. But what I was saying is that it's important to have the right mindset in trading. You're not going to always make the right decision in trading. But if you can, over time, develop this mindset of, okay, what is most statistically probable? So, for example, let's just look at XRP on the daily. Yeah, I don't want to assume that everybody knows what I'm using here. I'm using an app called TradingView.com. So TradingView.com is a great tool that you can use to pretty much look at any market. I have several cryptocurrencies over here, but I'm also following things like the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the Russell 2000, the Dow Futures, which is the US 30. I'm looking at gold, I'm looking at silver, and so there's a lot of things that you can track. But if you look at something like XRP and you look at what's happened over the last couple of days, you see that not only do you have a rise in price action, these are all daily candles, so each one of these candles represents a full day of history. And so what you do is, as you notice this rise in price action, one of the first questions to always ask yourself is a move like this backed up by volume? And so down here, you have the volume indicator. Of course, it's sitting over here on the side, so if I click this little hide button, you'll see that volume disappear. So if you come over here and turn on that volume, and the way you would bring up the volume on that is you would click on indicators and you would type in volume, and you would just find the basic volume indicator, which is what I have running right here. And so for any asset, that's going to show up. So for instance, right now I'm looking at the XRP chart. If I was to go over to Bitcoin, it would show the Bitcoin volume. And so as you look at both, for example, Bitcoin, you also look at XRP, or for example, if you look at Ethereum, all three of those assets have a very similar volume profile as you zoom in and as you look at that. And so what this tells me is that this move is backed up with volume. So as I'm looking at the daily, I'm starting to gain a picture of, okay, this is a strong move so far. Now, of course, there's the possibility that this move could stall out kind of in this area, and we could come back and come back to 230 or even go lower. I've actually seen some charts here in the last 24 or 48 hours that would say that we're going lower. That's always possible. But what's most probable as you look back at history is you'll see that when these moves, for example, if you come back to November and you study the November breakout between November the 3rd and 4th, all the way to December 3rd and 4th. So you had about a 30-day time period here. Let's see, just to show you exactly. Let's go November 4th, all the way to the top there, which would be December the 3rd. So 29 days, you had the market move. Let's see, you had the market go from there all the way to there. So you had almost a 500% move in about 29 days. Now, we did then kind of consolidate for a little bit, and then we ultimately went up to about 340, 338, which was a 580% move. The reason I show you that is because if you look at the historical movements of, say, an asset like XRP, most of the biggest moves in XRP happen in a very tight time window of 29 to 60, 70 days, right? So if you come back and look at the history of an asset like XRP, say for example, even back here, even when XRP didn't go to a new high, but Bitcoin did, you can see that in this time period, we went from the bottom to the top in about 107 days. Now that was a little bit different because it was more of a corrective move. It wasn't breaking out to a new all-time high. But if you come over here to this Bitstamp chart on XRP, that has more history because it's been traded there longer, and you come back, say, to early March of 2017, and you'll see, depending on where you want to take this, we'll go there, March the 2nd. And for example, look at that move. 30 days, we moved, I believe that was, I promise I'm going somewhere with this. Just hold on one second. So we moved 1,230% in about 30 days. Now, if you want to say, let's take that entire move lasted about 76 days. and we went all the way from there to there, and that was a 7,470% move in about 76 days. And if you go to the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, we had another 1,550% move in the course of about 22, is that right? Yeah, about 22, 25 days. So the reason I show you this is because what we just did here was about 30 days, about 580% total. What I believe we could be doing is we could be putting in the next major macro move that's going to take anywhere from 30 to 60 days. So as you look at that, it's just important to keep in mind, is it going to happen? We can't say that with any degree of 100% certainty, but we're watching, because if you notice, you have rolling volume weighted average pricing. This purple line is the yearly VWAP, which is volume weighted average pricing. And you can see what happened the last time back in November when XRP made this initial move. It found about 1 to 3 days of resistance here, and then we were off to the races. And what you're noticing here is currently, and we just had the switch over to the new daily. The daily candle closes each night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time, 7 p.m. Central, etc., etc. So you can figure out what time that is for you. But what's significant is we just closed the daily candle well above that volume weighted average pricing. Now here's what I believe is going to happen in the next few days. We're either going to find resistance here and make a pullback here to retest around 240, 241, which is the point of control for the last 7 months of trading. The most volume that has been traded in the last about 7 months on XRP has been around 240 to 241. You might say, how do you know that? Well, you bring up another indicator called VPVR. Let's get that right here, visible range volume profile. And so, yeah, so what you do is you take a look, you put the last 7 months in view here. So let's come back. Let's say we want to go back all the way to actually December, because that's when we kind of hit that first high. And so for the last 218 days, we've been trading in this range, you know, from 338 all the way down to 161. But the most volume has been traded at this white line around 237, 238. I would even say as high as, 243-ish. This whole area is kind of your high volume area. So what I'm seeing that's going to possibly happen in the next couple of days is we're going to have a little bit of a correction. Now the key there is, if you're not fully in on a trade yet, that's when you want to be ready to buy in these areas. If we come down here, we're going to find support, and then we're going to go higher. I can't tell you anything with certainty, can I? Could we come back here and blast straight through this and come all the way to zero on XRP? That's possible. But what is most probable? I would say that with a high degree of certainty based on these moves, that the most probable thing is either we're going to pull back now and retest this high volume node, this point of control, and then we're going to go, or we're going to totally jump the creek, so to speak. We're going to come right up here. We're going to come up and pull liquidity in the 267 to 270 area. Then we're going to have a slight pullback, maybe not as low, maybe we'll retest 250, and then I believe we're off to the races. That's just based on the 8 years that I have watched XRP. I've been here for a long time. I've seen XRP, trade in ranges for years. Look at this range. That's years. That's 2 or 3 years where we just pretty much went sideways, in a range from 94 all the way down to 38, actually as low as 28. So these are the times that we were born for, right? We are pretty confident that the market is going to make at least another high based on what Bitcoin is doing. And of course, this is where it always comes back to Bitcoin. My current view is that Bitcoin is going to come up to test the 170 to 175 range at least before this entire bull run is over. How do you come up with that? Well, there you go. There's the 618, the 1618 extension for Bitcoin. You might say, well, how do you know it's going to hit that? Well, again, this is where chart history helps you so much. So if you come back here and you measure the top of the market in 2017, 2018, you pull down to the bottom of the bear. Where did we hit back in 2021 and 2022 for Bitcoin? We found resistance and the new bear market started once we double tapped the 1618. So this is not, what's the word? This is not guessing. It's based on measurements of markets. This Coinbase chart doesn't have all the history of Coinbase. It only goes back to 2015. But if you were to measure, you would see that these are typical Elliott wave extensions, Fibonacci extensions for Bitcoin. So yeah, guys, I just wanted to give you a quick update on where I see XRP, where I see Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's going to ultimately here in the next few weeks go up to 170, 175. I believe XRP is going to anywhere between $8 to $11, maybe $13. So that's what I'm looking at. So yeah, I wanted to give you a quick update. What I'll be doing over the next several days is just giving you kind of the quick, current daily view of where I see the market, and try to put those out at least 5 days a week, if not, more. But I definitely want to help people. I believe the only way that you can get free is to be able to trade your way out of slavery. And currently here in America, we are in a slave system. We are under the control of elites on both sides of the political aisle that do not care about you. They do not care about me. All they care about is power and enriching themselves. And so we have to empower ourselves so that we can break free from the matrix. And that's what I want to help us do. So anyway, thank you for listening to this. I don't want to make this video too long. I'm going to try to make these videos anywhere from 10, maybe 15 minutes if they go long. But I really just try to give to you a quick daily snapshot of what the market is doing. If you do want me to look at specific coins, I can do that. But typically we're going to stay focused on the larger market cap tokens, because I believe that's where we can trade with the highest degree of statistical probabilities, because we have enough history in the market. We're not guessing where the bottom is. For example, I could show you a coin like Supra that's a newer coin, and I actually am trading it, but I'm trading it with a very small amount of capital. And don't worry, we'll start talking about risk management, how much capital we risk per trade, what type of trading are we doing? Are we doing spot swing trading? Are we doing high risk leverage trading? A hybrid between those two. So anyway, looking forward to being with you on this journey and helping as many people as we can to break free from the matrix. We'll talk soon.